guest tonight, Mr. Vaishnaw, is one of the government's key technocrats, alumnus of IT Kanpur and Wharton, handles some of the government's key economic ministries and very important initiatives like those on AI, semiconductors, Vande Bharat, electronics. And Mr. Vaishnaw, you had a very busy day today. There's been a cabinet meeting, a cabinet briefing, and I'm told you were at the rail, you're coming straight from the Rail Bhavan with meetings with railway officials. Thanks very much for making time for Rising Bharat, sir. Mr. Vaishnaw, let me begin with what's occupying the minds of many people, which is around AI. There's a huge debate around AI around the world with around deep tech. You have said that our foundational AI model for India will be ready in, say, next 5 or 6 months. Are we on track for that, sir?
Absolutely, we are on track. See, if you look at the talent concentration that we have in our country, among the highest talent nations is India. When we look at how we are democratizing the access to AI GPUs, compute power, our model has been today appreciated by everybody, right? So we have already got 14,000 GPUs empaneled and another round getting soon. So combine these two, the talent as well as the compute power which is available for many people to use, this has given us a very good edge to our developers and our startups, and it's going very well. I must say, I recently read a tweet from, I think Sam Altman tweeted, the way our country has adapted AI, it's phenomenal. It's really, really huge, enthusiastic adoption of AI.
So also on the first Made in India chip, you would put a deadline of September, October this year. How realistic is that, and is that happening?
Oh, that's very much on track. All the 5 units construction going on very well. The plants are now getting set up. At some places, the validation of the machinery is going on. So it's absolutely on track to have the first Made in India chip rollout this year.
Right. So you said that, we are going to have a foundational model very soon. Are we late in the game? There is this whole debate that, if China could come from behind, produce DeepSeek that has totally shaken Silicon Valley, why couldn't India do that with a fraction of the cost, considering we have the best tech talent in the world? So, do you think we are late in the game? Secondly, sir, where do you stand on this whole debate on whether India should look at models? Should India look at use cases? Because Nandan Nilekani has often said, let the big boys in the valley spend all the money. We will build the best AI applications on top of it. Where do you stand, sir?
See, this is just the first chapter of the AI book. This is just a beginning of what AI can do, what it is going to do in coming years. In the industrial world, we have been using AI for almost 20 years now. Lots of maintenance work, lots of machine, lots of industrial plants, where it was not called AI, it was called machine learning and large data, big data kind of things. A lot of IoTs, a lot of sensors, lots of those things were already happening in the industrial world. Now it has come to a B2C kind of consumption, a new setup where practically everybody is using AI. So I wouldn't say that we are late. I would say that since this is just a beginning of this entire new industrial revolution, as many people call it, we are very much in the race, and we will be among the top few countries who have that ability to harness the power of this new technology. Foundational models would be needed. They would be needed for two different reasons. First reason is your ability to have control over, as a country, not just as government, but more as a country, your ability to have control over this very key technology is very, very important. Just like it's very important to have your own telecom stack. Just like it's very important to have your digital infrastructure. Just like it is very important to have your own semiconductor manufacturing and design capabilities. Similarly, we must have the LLM within our ecosystem. Second reason is biases. Biases can be very dangerous. They can really play very negatively, play out very negatively. So it's very important to have the bias-free, diversity embracing, understanding the cultural context of our country, making sure that so diverse a country as we are, we should be able to have the AI understand that and be free from those biases. That's why it's important.
So on social media, sir, there are issues around fake news, and there is also the DPDP bill which has been passed, which was passed by your government under your tenure. What is the time frame for operationalizing those rules, and when will we see the rubber hitting the road, as it were?
See, the approach that we have followed, there are two things that we have meticulously followed. One, we decided not to make either the rules or the act very prescriptive. We wanted it to be very principles based. Now that's a very different approach from what the Western governments took, that approach. Their approach was very prescriptive, identifying the number of hours and all that kind of stuff, right? So we wanted it to be very principles based. Same thought process we are following in the rules. The second thing that we always followed was we wanted the entire process to be very consultative. And because of that consultative process, for example, when we were drafting the law, I think we had more than 35,000 inputs from various stakeholders, and we used all those inputs to finally draft our bill. Same process we are following now. The consultation process is in its final laps. Most of the inputs that we wanted have already been received, and we should now be in a position to do the final draft.
Right. In the last week, sir, there's also been this huge debate and discussion in the Indian startup ecosystem on the type of entrepreneurship that is coming out of India. You know, there is a view that India has done very well for itself. It's one of the biggest startup ecosystems in the world. But is there enough depth? Is there enough deep tech being built? Or are we stuck with gig workers, delivery apps, fancy cookies and ice creams? What is your view on this, sir?
I think in our economy and our country, there is a space for practically everything. I must share with you that some of these startups are really working on very good, very key, very difficult technologies. For example, there is a startup, I wouldn't take the names, which is working on developing a chip. It's basically software. It's a fabless company, and their chip will be used in mobile. There are other companies which are working on variety of different semiconductor as well as AI technologies. There are more than 100 startups in IT Madras itself, which are deep tech startups. So I think there is a space for all. Ultimately, what does a startup or an entrepreneur try to do? They try to solve a problem. So solving a problem in every space is required. Every sector is required. So I think in our economy, there is a space for all.
तो जो लोग कहते हैं कि सरकार और क्या कर सकती है स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम को इंकरेज करने के लिए कि लोगों का इश्यूज हो रहे हैं, उस पे आपकी क्या प्रतिक्रिया रहेगी?
देखिए, सरकार ने अपनी तरफ से बहुत बड़ा एक रोल प्ले किया है. 10 साल पहले अगर आप देखते हैं तो स्टार्टअप्स कितने 300-400 ही थे. आज 1.5 लाख से ज़्यादा है. सरकार ने एक पूरा एक एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट किया जिससे भारत एक 3rd लार्जेस्ट स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम बना है. सभी का रोल होता है. कोई भी ताली एक हाथ से नहीं बजती है. सभी को अपनी अपनी तरफ से प्रयास करने पड़ते हैं. और मैं कहता हूं कि आज के स्टार्टअप्स में वो एनर्जी है, वो एक एंथुजियाज्म है, वो एक काम करने का जो जज्बा है वो है. एंड आई एम वेरी हैप्पी विद द वे आवर स्टार्टअप्स आर working on a variety of problems that they are trying to solve.
Right. If I can slip in a question here about Elon Musk. You know, on the one hand, the government has sort of rolled out the red carpet with respect to Starlink. But on the other hand, we are also seeing a very fierce battle where Elon Musk's ex has sued the Indian government in court because of the Sahyog portal. As the nodal minister, where do you stand on this?
Listen, this is not the first time that social media platforms have filed cases or suits against government. It's a very common thing, and ultimately every company, whichever company, has to work within the framework of the constitution and the framework of the laws that are passed by the parliament.
Talking about social media, sir, do you think the scope of the broadcast bill needs to be widened to also look at influencers, content creators, considering what happened recently with the whole Ranveer Alabadia and Samay Raina episode?
See, end of the day, we must understand that we are all living in a society. We are all living in a particular cultural context. We are all having friends, neighbors, children. Everybody is connected with each other. So we must, as users of technology, whether we are content creators or we are consumers of technology, we should understand what is our responsibility, and we should try to be, I would say, as a citizen or as a user, we should try and see what my own boundaries should be. I should be able to define that and work within that. Making, let's say, if you are living in a, if you are in a, in your own living room, 4 or 5 persons, those jokes would be very different from a platform where you are basically broadcasting to the entire world what you want to say. Then we must understand that we are living in a social context, and we should, I would say that we should understand that as a social responsibility.
अश्विनी जी, आपकी सरकार ने मेक इन इंडिया पर बहुत जोर दिया है. इस वक्त काफ़ी अस्थिरता का दौर है ग्लोबल मार्केट्स में, और कई चीज़ों को लेकर काफ़ी अनस्टेबिलिटी है, अनसर्टेनिटी है. चाइना से सप्लाई लाइंस शिफ्ट करने की जो बात है, इंडिया को चाइना प्लस वन स्ट्रैटेजी, इंडिया उस आपके हिसाब से हाउ वेल प्लेस्ड इज इंडिया टू बेनिफिट फ्रॉम द करंट सिचुएशन और विद द शिफ्टिंग ऑफ सप्लाई लाइन फ्रॉम चाइना टू इंडिया?
आप अगर पिछले 10 वर्षों की जर्नी देखो तो यू गेट द आंसर. इन 10 वर्षों में इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हैज ग्रोन 5 times. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एक्सपोर्ट्स हैव ग्रोन 6 times. 5 गुना यानी 17% CAGR से ग्रो हुई है 10 साल में, डिस्पाइट द 2 कोविड ईयर्स. आई एम सेइंग एक्सपोर्ट्स 20% प्लस CAGR ग्रोथ हुई है, एंड इट्स इंक्रीजिंग एट द सेम पेस और एट अ फास्टर पेस. अभी रिसेंटली वी अनाउंस द इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स कंपोनेंट स्कीम. इससे पहले हार्डवेयर, मोबाइल फोन, and the ecosystem is deepening so well. What gives more satisfaction is that many of the manufacturers are now setting up their design houses. There is one manufacturer who has set up a design team, and that design team has designed a laptop which they showed to me recently. Then I showed that laptop to one of the big IT companies ka CEO, and that CEO basically said that this is, he didn't believe that this is made in India, this is made in Taiwan, is what he said. And that is the kind of quality that our people are manufacturing and designing today. So that thing is, that's a reality today, and that's going to grow. More than 400 companies are there which are there in the, I'm saying the major ones. There are many more smaller MSME units which are there, which are part of the ecosystem. So combine our stable policies that our Prime Minister has shown us a clear vision, the availability of design talent, and our focused way of implementing that policy, we are bound to grow in the coming days.
Mr. Vaishnaw, you mentioned the scheme for electronic components. The Union Cabinet last week approved over about 22,000 crores of PLI for electronic manufacturing. Overall, as I understand it, across 14 sectors, about 1.6 lakh crore of investment has come in on through the PLI route. But how do you react to criticism by those like Raghuram Rajan, who argue that the PLI scheme essentially just subsidizes a whole bunch of foreign investors?
See, I always take any criticism which comes very constructively, but what I would like to share with you is every country which got into electronics manufacturing, every country, take any name, they all started the same process, whether it is South Korea, it's Vietnam, it's China, it's Japan in the early phases, after the Second World War. Most countries had a similar phase, and especially in the last 30-40 years, you start with manufacturing of the finished goods, then you go to the modules, then you go to the components, and we are exactly following that same trajectory. We started with finished goods, now we are into the, and we already do modules, now we are already in the component stage. The highest possible domestic value addition that any country has shown is in the range of 38% after 30, 40, 35 years of working in that sector. Within a very small time span of 10, 11 years, We have already reached 20% plus. And we are going to double this in the coming 5 years. So it's a very systematic, methodical journey. And to the critics, I would like to point out, electronics manufacturing is today giving good, meaningful employment to 25 lakh people. And some of these employment, and a large number of this employment, is for young women coming from rural areas with very little education, but very good, strong determination to make a difference, to work in sophisticated technologies. I like to give an example where I visited one of the factories, one of the plants. The girl was from a village of Bihar, and she said that when she goes back to the village, गांव जब वापस जाती है, तो गांव के प्रधान से ज़्यादा इज्जत उसको मिलती है, क्योंकि जब वो बताती है कि मैं मोबाइल फोन मैन्युफैक्चर करती हूँ. It's a very touching human thing.
That's an amazing anecdote, Mr. Vaishnaw. I just wanted to also ask you about phone manufacturers, right? So some of the biggest phone manufacturers in India are Chinese makers like Oppo and Vivo, more than Apple in India sales. So would they be eligible for PLI? There have been reports that the government has encouraged these companies to enter into joint ventures with Indian companies. How is this going to work?
Listen, any country or any company which wants to come and work in India, they have full freedom to work, and companies generally prefer joint venture mode when they want to go up the learning curve at a faster pace.
Ashwini ji, the Katra Srinagar Vande Bharat will be inaugurated by the Prime Minister in next 9-10 days or so. How symbolic is this in the idea of India? And also on the Vande Bharat project overall, at the last count, करीब 136 Vande Bharat चल चुकी हैं. ये नंबर कहाँ तक जाएगा?
नहीं, already 118 या उससे ज़्यादा सर्विसेज ऑलरेडी चल रही है. 36 कहाँ?
136 में कह रहा था.
हाँ, 136 अभी चल रही है. And manufacturing is continuously happening. So I think that's, and people like it. Some of the parameters, Vande Bharat is actually better than some of the best trains in the country, as you are aware. Acceleration pay, noise level inside the train, the vibration levels. That's because the design has been done with lot of thought in it. देखिए, कश्मीर और जम्मू को, श्रीनगर को और जम्मू को जोड़ने का, ये रेल से जोड़ने का, ये एक बहुत बड़ा सपना है देश का. और इस सपने को प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने अपनी बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग संकल्प के साथ, this is a project which required tremendous tenacity, tremendous design work, lots and lots of engineering inputs were there. It's a very difficult project, but ये प्रधानमंत्री जी का political will power है, political clarity है, जिसके कारण ये project complete हो पाया.
अश्विनी जी, let me ask you about safety, क्योंकि जब जहाँ तक कवच सिस्टम की बात है, इसके बारे में कई बात होती है. जब इसका पहला टेस्ट हुआ था तो आप खुद बैठे थे उस इंजन में रेलवे बोर्ड के ऑफिशियल्स के साथ लास्ट मिनट तक. You sat there yourself. When do we expect the coverage system to be implemented across the country and us to go to zero accident rates?
बहुत significant progress हुई है compared to the period 10 years before. We have already reduced the number of incidents by almost 80%. That is the improvement which has happened in the last 10 years, and that improvement is now significantly moving forward in a big way. Kavach ka that particular thing was the time when it was in its preliminary design phase. That was version 3.2. Obviously, when people are looking at a new technology, and that to a technology on safety matters, लोगों को थोड़ा doubt रहता है. इसीलिए मैंने कहा कि let me take that, make that as a personal example and take that risk and do that experiment, do that pilot myself. वो इसीलिए किया था. और उसका रिजल्ट भी अच्छा आया, because that gave lot of confidence to the teams which were working on the Kavach project. और अच्छी progress है. अभी 10,000 लोगों पे लगाने का काम चल रहा है. About 15,000 kilometers लगाने का काम चल रहा है. Many of the rich countries, they took about 20 years to cover their networks, and I think we should be able to do that in 6 years.
Ashwini ji, last question. We are running out of time. So, the Prime Minister speaks about his vision for Viksit Bharat in 2047. Let me ask you, as a subset of that, your vision and the Prime Minister's vision for Indian Railways for 2030. 5 साल के बाद हिंदुस्तान की रेलवेज किस तरह की लगेगी?
रेलवेज में प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने इतना क्लियर फोकस रखा है, और जो इसकी रिक्वायरमेंट्स जितनी भी थी, विशेषकर फंडिंग के बारे में, सेफ्टी के बारे में, टेक्नोलॉजी लाने के बारे में, प्रोसेसेस को चेंज करने में, इसमें बहुत अच्छा एक मार्गदर्शन मिला है, बहुत अच्छा एक नेतृत्व मिला है, जिसके कारण वी आर ऑलरेडी इन अ वेरी रेलवे इज एक्चुअली ट्रांसफॉर्मिंग. In the coming 5 years, 3 major things will happen. First, from where we are today, safety will improve even more significantly. We have already reduced number of incidents by 80%. I think there will be a further reduction of 80% going forward. Second, the capacity is going to increase substantially. This saal, we became the second largest cargo carrying railway in the world. We left, now it's basically top 2 countries में हम आ गए already, and that will again further go up because railways is the most environment friendly mode of transportation. That will go further. Third, a lot of new technology trains, beginning with what Vande Bharat did. Vande Sleeper है, नमो भारत ट्रेन है, अमृत भारत ट्रेन है, बुलेट ट्रेन आ रही है. तो ये सब की सब एक टोटली एक नए तरीके की टेक्नोलॉजी के ट्रेन्स आएंगे. फोर्थ, द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर विल इम्प्रूव सब्सटैंशियली with the stations getting rebuilt. Today we are doing the world's largest station redevelopment program. 1,200 stations पे अभी as we speak काम चल रहा है, और within a month's time frame, Honorable Prime Minister will be inaugurating 100 stations in one go. So उस तरह का काम चल रहा है.
If you can allow me 2 quick questions. How do you use AI every day? Is there an AI chatbot that you like? What kind of questions do you ask?
Bad question to ask. You ask OpenAI, how does Ashwini use it?
So let me ask you another question. I'm told, work a very long day. You have many, from 9 o'clock till 11:30, 12 at night. What is your view on what does your staff think about this idea of a 90-hour week?
I think you should ask the staff.
What do you think about it?
No, I think our Prime Minister has set a very good example before us. He works very hard, and when we have to take our country to a totally new level, there is no option but to, and it's a personal choice. Each one should make, each company, each organization should make their own choices. For me, I think there is no substitute to hard work.
So, Ashwini ji, coming back to railways, in terms of the AC class, the numbers show that the percentage of that in passenger revenues बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया है.
इसमें मैं बहुत clear आपको कहता हूँ. Throughout our history, it has been a 2/3, 1/3 history, as in the recent history of 20-25 years. 2/3, 1/3 का ratio रहता है जी, AC और non-AC का. That ratio has actually increased now. Now it is 70% non-AC coaches, 30% AC coaches. When you look at the number of seats which are available, it is 82% non-AC and 18% AC. देखो, विपक्ष वो जो एक नैरेटिव बनाने की कोशिश करता है, उसमें आप मत जाइए. आप look at the data, and I've placed this data before the parliament also.
In terms
रेलवे बहुत स्पष्ट है. रेलवे इस पूरे इनकम पिरामिड में very clearly low income, middle income. That is where our focus is. Low income or middle income families के लिए to provide a good, affordable, and we are the most affordable railway service in the entire world. Compared even to our neighbors Pakistan and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, we are at least half or sometimes 1/4 the price that they charge. So providing affordable and safe transport to our middle income families and to our low income families, that is what our priority is. Very clear, absolutely laser sharp focus.
Thanks very much, Mr. Vaishnaw. Thanks, and that brings us to the end of this session. A big hand for Mr. Ashwini Vaishnaw.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
sir.